You found the house. You made the offer. The seller accepted your offer. Now, what is next? This is the fun part. In this video, I'm going to walk you through the process of once you get fully executed to getting your keys on closing day. So follow along and I'll go through the process step by step. So we are getting down to the nitty gritty. Your contract's accepted. It is time to set up your inspections. You need to make application with the lender. And I know you're probably saying, Pam Graham, I already did that, but you got to do it again. This makes it official. You'll more than likely pay for your appraisal because you pay for the appraisal up front. The appraisal won't happen right away. We want to get through that due diligence period, get your inspections done. Once those are done, and you're good with them via like not much happened with it, the seller has agreed to any repairs, and you're ready to move on, the appraisal gets done. You know, the appraiser has their own timeline that they have to follow as well. They can't be helping to delay this closing either, and they don't want to either. They have a job to do. Behind the scenes, I'm talking to the listing agent, I'm talking to the title company. Um, I may be talking to the appraiser, but usually the appraiser meets the listing agent at the property. Sometimes they have their own lockbox key, but usually it's the listing agent that talks to the appraiser. I talk to the inspectors and I stay there with them. So we're past that period. Appraisal comes back. It's at value. It goes to underwriting. Everything that you've turned in goes to underwriting. Your lender is going to have all their ducks in a row to send everything. It's time for underwriting to go through. Now, there are some mistakes that some buyers make at this point. You get excited, you want new furniture, you got a new house. Do not buy anything on credit. Don't even use a lot of cash either. Don't make unusual deposits, don't make unusual withdrawals. Don't buy anything on credit. That means car, that means Home Depot stuff, that means um, the furniture. Don't buy any of that because you could mess up your debt to income if you're already really tight and the lender had to really work that with the numbers. So don't do any of that. Don't change jobs, don't quit jobs, don't get fired. I know you're not going to get fired, but don't do it. Don't do it. So the underwriters, they can come back with a list of conditions. And sometimes those conditions are things that you've already done and completed. Complain about it for like 5 minutes, vent, get it out of your system, then get it done. Then send it to them again. We always joke that we want to put the underwriters in this windowless room where they have all these stacks of files and all they do is work on those files. That would be horrible. I know I couldn't stand in that room, but we always joke that maybe they are tucked away in a warehouse somewhere where that's all they do is work on their files because they actually have the biggest control on getting your loan done. But they're usually pretty quick because they have a timeline to follow as well. Now, you as the buyer have most of the work to do, but there are things that the seller has to do. If they have a mortgage on their property, they need to get information to the title company so that they can get a payoff, so that they know that they have enough proceeds to close. They should know this ahead of time. So we should know this ahead of time. Title company is also in the background doing stuff too. They're going to check the title to make sure there's no clouds, anything that would keep the seller from conveying the title to you guys when it's time to close. So they're doing title insurance as well. They're working on communicating with the lender, getting information they need as well, just to make sure that this closing is going to happen. Now, we're going to do a walkthrough, a final walkthrough. Now, sometimes it happens on the day of closing. I personally don't like having it on the day of closing. I like to have it a day or so before closing. And I should back up a little bit and say clear to close is what we're looking for. We're not going to schedule a final walkthrough until we get the clear to close because that's where it's there. The underwriter said, yep, you're good. The property's good. It's time to move on. Let's get her done. So that's good words, good a good sentence to hear. But the final walkthrough, when it's done, it's ready to schedule. We're also going to schedule the closing. But the final walkthrough is not for you to go through and start nitpicking things. It's to go through and make sure that the repairs are completed. And I actually like to do that ahead of time because we've had this happen where we've waited too long and then there was issues and it could cause delays. So we work on that, realizing that the repairs are done, ready to go. That's via visualizing it or seeing invoices too. The walkthrough you go through, you'll see that hopefully the house is completely vacant. Here in Florida, the seller has to be out and have all their stuff out and done by closing. If we're scheduling the walkthrough the day before, it is quite possible if it was occupied that seller is still working on cleaning their house out, getting their things moved. So don't freak out. If we do see some stuff there, I'm going to talk to the listing agent, see what's going on. I'm going to make a stop by the house the day of closing to make sure things are done as well. The listing agent's going to check on those things too. So if we go there and we see there's a few things there, don't panic. It's not that big of a deal. They still have their time. Now, I did have a listing myself where the buyer moved out of state. I'm sorry, the seller moved out of the state. And there was some things that were left in the garage, boxes, books, nothing major. But the buyer did not want to close unless that stuff was moved out. So I got permission from the seller to move those things out myself. And she was not coming back to the property. Her and her mom had owned it. Her mom had passed away. So this was really emotional for her. So I took care of it. And we got it done. We got closed. The buyer was happy. So we get to the walkthrough. We're done. The next thing is the closing. Here's what usually happens. Back in the day, we would have the buyers and the sellers. They would come together at the same room, in the same room, at the same table. And that's the time that you get to ask the seller, hey, what about this? What about that? Sometimes you want to ask some questions that only the seller knows, or they could tell you some ins and outs. And that was before COVID. So we did most of our closings like that, unless the sellers had moved out of state or moved away and they couldn't be at closing and they would do their part long distance. COVID hits, that all changed. We couldn't be in the same room. We couldn't sign at the same time. Some made us go outside and do it. It was crazy times for sure. After COVID, I saw that the closings happening with the seller and the buyer together were a little bit less. Sometimes the seller goes in. They don't have as much to sign, but they'll go in, they'll sign, the warranty deed, they'll do their closing disclosure signatures, and they'll go ahead and take care of it, and then it's our turn to go in, maybe the same day, later in the day. Then, once you signed everything, and you're going to have a lot more to sign than the seller, the title company is going to send that paperwork to the lender. The lender's going to go through it, make sure it's all good, T's are crossed, I's are dotted. Then they're going to issue the funds. They're going to give a funding number. And then guess what? You're closed. You get your keys that day. And then you can move in that night if you want. You can go over to your new house and you can do whatever. It's yours. Now, a few things that you want to set up. You want to set up your utilities to be changed into your name if they're already on, because it's more fees if the seller cuts it off, then you cut it back on. You want to make sure you do it while it's still on if the fees are less. So you want to make sure you get your mail, your voter registration. You want to do that over, and you do it right there online with the post office. Get your change of address. You want to do that just a little bit ahead of time, not have it started, but have it started on the day of closing. It is typical that the homeowner's insurance is going to send that information directly to the house. So usually the sellers are just sticking on the counter. But that's it. You get your keys, you can start moving in, start making those memories on your house. So if you're thinking about buying a home in Northeast Florida, which includes like Jacksonville, Clay, and St. Johns County, and this is your first time here, check out my first video of my first time home buyer series, which is actually good for any type of buyer because Things are different in different areas, in different states. You can learn how our procedure is. And if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment below.